Welcome back. Today, I am talking with Darya Maeki, a goal setting and clarity coach who helps ambitious women move from overwhelm to alignment so they can create a life that actually feels like theirs. With a background in interior design and a passion for intentional living, Darya brings a unique perspective to coaching. She believes real clarity comes from understanding your core values and being honest about what matters most so that you can stop following the path you think you should be on and start creating one that truly fits. Our conversation is all about designing a life with a purpose, and I cannot wait for you to hear it. So let's dive in. Darya, thank you so much for being here. I cannot wait to chat with you.
Thank you, Haley. I'm really excited to be here as well.
Wonderful. All right. Well, I always love to get started with telling us your story, starting at the beginning, and really what led you here to where you are today, because I think that's so important for our listeners to understand where you started to where you are now. Dive in.
How far back do I go?
As far back as you feel makes sense to the listeners and ties into your story. But yes, I love it, right? It's like, oh man, where do I start?
Yeah, where do I begin? Where was I born?
Right? All the things.
Okay, so I actually have a bit of a unique story because I was born in Los Angeles to parents who were living in Italy.
Mm.
And they went to Los Angeles so that my mom was around family when she gave birth. I was the first child. Ended up being the last child, but I was the first child. And so I was just born there. And then I was raised in Italy. Eventually, we moved to Canada when I was 7 years old. And I grew up most of my life in Canada. I went to university. I studied psychology. I then went to do my master's in Italy because Italy was always calling. It,
Oh
it,
my
it was
gosh.
home for me.
And yes, I can only imagine. It's on my bucket list.
Yes, it's a beautiful country. And so I did my master's there, and I did my master's in marketing focused in the fashion industry, which led me to becoming a women's wear buyer. I was working for a Spanish department store, El Corte Inglés, for those who've been to Spain. And I worked in New York. They had a buying office. They still have a buying office there. So I did that, and it was a dream. I mean, you're in your 20s, you have very, very big budgets to select clothing, design clothing, and that go to fashion shows, and it was kind of a girl's dream life. But eventually it caught up to me because I felt like something was off. And the first time I realized it, it was actually an interesting story. I was in the airport with my colleagues, and everybody would go into the duty-free shops, buy the latest magazine that was out, and would like go through it to see all the things, that the clothing mainly. And I would go buy magazines and hide them because they weren't fashion related, they were interior design related. So there were homes and whatnot. So that was a clue, but I still didn't really pick up because still design. Anyway, so eventually I realized that something was off, and I ended up doing the scariest thing, and I quit my job, which was very, very hard for me to do. And I worked with a career coach that helped me realize that I wasn't in alignment. And because of that, I switched careers. I went back to university. I did interior design again. And simultaneously, with my psychology degree, which was something I really enjoyed, it came back to me again. And through that experience as a career coach, I went off to working with a organization where I started mentoring women who are transitioning from graduate school to the workforce. And so I did a lot of programs to be part of that. And I ended up becoming a coach there. And that's where my coaching journey began many, many years ago. And simultaneously, I ended up graduating from interior design and working as an interior designer. So that's my story. And the only part that's missing is that my background, I'm Persian.
Okay.
So
So thank you. That's so interesting. When you quit your job in fashion, Did you know what you were gonna do next? I know you said you hired a coach, but did you quit with no plan? Was that hard for you? How did that all unfold? And what made you decide to go find a career coach?
So I quit without knowing what was gonna happen, and I also didn't when I quit, I just knew I had to quit. I didn't know what was happening. I just knew I something did not feel right. At the time, I thought it was because by then I had been transferred from New York. I was living in New York working for the Spanish department store, El Corte Inglés. They transferred me to head office in Madrid. And so I was living for years in Madrid, and then all of a sudden, it just wasn't feeling right. I didn't know what was wrong, and I thought I wanted to go back home because my parents, and I thought that was the disconnection. And so I came back to Toronto, and by default, I was recruited from a Canadian company, and I got a senior women's wear, again, the same position. And so I went back to the same career, and very soon after I realized, no, no, this is a career thing. And that's when I thought I need help. I can't do this on my own. I can't figure it out. And a career coach at the time wasn't as common as maybe it is today. And so I contacted a career coach and starting working with her. And that's how the journey began.
I love it. And so, as you were working with her and you found what your core values are and what you're meant to do, and realized that it wasn't fully aligned, what did that look like for you? Or I know that you help women reconnect to their core values. Why do you believe that's such a powerful starting point when someone feels stuck or overwhelmed like you did in a position that maybe they weren't meant for?
So why I think it's so powerful to understand your core values is because it literally becomes your GPS. It creates a foundation where you no longer have to second guess yourself. You have this strong foundation. You know what you want, you know what you value, you know what your priorities are, and all your decisions are being made from that foundation. But if you don't have that foundation, it's very hard. So, I mean, now I'm going to inject some architect and interior design mentality, which is if you build a home and the foundation of that home isn't strong, you can build the most beautiful, the most whatever you want on top of that foundation, but eventually it's going to fall down because the foundation's not strong enough.
Mm.
So that's really why I'm a true believer, and I see it time and time again. Without those core values, being there and being clear on those core values, it's very hard to build a life that's aligned with you, that allows you to feel peace, clarity, freedom, and all the good stuff we all want.
I love that. And I also believe it's so important actually when people first come into my program, as they're designing their offers and their programs, I have them start and go back to their why, their vision, and their values because it's so, so, so important. Like you said, you have to have that strong foundation in order to build and grow and be happy with what you're doing. That's the ultimate goal. We want to build our businesses so that we're passionate about what we're doing. We love the people we're serving, and it just lights us up. So we're excited to do what we do every day. And starting with those core values is so, so important. How do you help women reconnect with their core values? Can you lead me through your process or an example or how you get them there?
So I created a program called the North Method. It's it's a 12-week program where we have one-on-one coaching, and we do various different exercises. I have prompts, and everyone's journey is different, so it's very tailored to the person, but there's a foundation of the program that is the same for everyone because everyone wants to live a life that's fulfilling, that's aligned with who they are, that brings them peace, that gets them out of overwhelmed, that gets them out of this bit of a fog that they might feel. And sometimes people have really hard, it's very challenging for some people to make decisions. And once you get into that pattern, even the most simple thing becomes really, really difficult. So we go through this program, and as I said, it's very unique to each person. But there are, for example, as you mentioned, getting like one of the, it's not the first step, but one of the first steps is getting to your core values. Like, what are your core values? Some people don't even think about that. Like, wait, what? Wait a minute, because we live in such a fast-paced society where it's just go, 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 and we sometimes lose our north.
Mm-hmm. 100%. So how do you help them find, so if someone is just going, 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 they're running their business, they're doing the things, but maybe it's not working for them. And so I guess I'd love if, how does it show up for someone that you're serving? Like someone that they're not living fully aligned. Like you said, they're overwhelmed or they're having a hard time making decisions. How is it showing up in their lives or their business? Are they constantly just changing what they're doing, trying to find the next thing? Or is it more like inner?
So
What do you
the one
think
of
it
the number one things, a pattern I've seen is many women feel like they're not at peace. They don't know why, they just feel like they are not at peace. And sometimes they come because they say, I feel as though I'm not in the profession I want to be in. And that might be the case, but not necessarily is it always the case. So, what my job is to really unwrap what's going on, go deeper to understand really what it is that they're having a challenge with, or what they're having challenges with, to understand that first. And then maybe it is a career change, but it could be something else. Like I've had so many different clients with coming to me for different reasons, and they end up being there for a completely,
is?
different reason. One of the things I've noticed a lot is a decision about having children or not having children, which is, not related to career, but it's like they're putting it in the back burner because they don't even want to deal with try to even unravel what that is, face their truth. So gaining clarity in different areas of your life opens up doors in other areas that you might not even know that are there, that are pending, but that they're weighing you down.
That's so powerful. I was having a conversation with another woman and I forgot what we were talking about, but it's so true. What we're doing often as women, everything blends together, right? It's not that your family is separate from your job and your job is separate from, like, it all comes together. And even though you feel like that decision isn't weighing on you and your business, it still can be. And so that was a great example of just how much our personal lives mix with our careers and our professional lives. It's so important to be grounded and have just that really clear vision of what you want moving forward so that you can show up fully as who you are. So, after you help women discover this, do you help them create that plan for what it looks like moving forward? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, so once we gain clarity, we set a foundation, we really dig in and look at because at the end of the day, we talk about designing a life. What is designing a life? Designing a life is your everyday. It's not some separate, you know, thing.
Yes.
Your everyday, what you do every day is your life. There's nothing like that's it. So once we get clarity, once we know what your core values are, once we build a really strong foundation and we've done the vetting of understanding, what does your day look like? Does your day even look like what it needs to support the kind of life you want to design, the kind of day you want to live. So without doing that work, whatever your day looks like isn't really based on who you are aligned with what you want. So that's why it's so important to also build your goals, not before knowing your core values, not before, because then it just becomes this abstract thing. But when you connect it to who you are, aligned with who you are, that's when you really take the necessary steps. That's when this word of motive, that's what motivates you because it's connected to you. So once we do all that work, then we create a roadmap to really planning and setting you up for success. And that could be many times, for example, you might need a little extra help in your business area. Maybe you've come through this 12-week program and now you're interested in creating a new business. So then, for example, when you're at that point, that's someone that would be connected to you and would work with you because now they have such a strong foundation. So when they come to you and you're setting them up in their businesses, can you imagine how
Yes.
flawless that process is?
And that connects so well with the meaning of this show is success unscripted. You get to design your own success. You get to choose what success looks like for you. And when you connect all the pieces and you connect it to your values and how you really want to show up and live, it becomes really powerful. And I hadn't thought about it that way before. Don't create your goals until you really have that foundation and what you want your day to look like. Because ultimately, if you're creating a plan to get to these goals that then doesn't align with the values and the vision and how you want to show up, it's not going to work. So that was such a different way of thinking about it, but I love it. It makes total sense.
I mean, that's why it really saddens me because a lot of the time you speak to these amazing women who are like, all the goals I set, I can't do it. I clearly don't know how to set goals. I clearly don't know how to follow through with my goals. And it's none of that. And it's chipping away at their confidence. But
Mhm.
it's not that. It's simply that the goals aren't aligned with who you are, what you want, because you potentially haven't done the work before that's needed to set those goals. And that's why it's so important.
100%. I've been doing a ton of mindset work and journaling because I was stuck for a while and it's like, okay, everything was working and now it's not. And what is it? What's causing this? And the more that I started really digging in and understanding and doing the mindset work, stuff started happening and it started shifting. And so I am a work in progress, that is for sure. But just looking back on, okay, is this what I want? And the decisions that I'm making, does this align? I was just chatting with another gal yesterday who's going to be on the show, but it's owning the decisions, making sure that they are aligned with the path I want to be on, right? So, it's all just coming together, but it's so important. And I have seen the benefits of really digging in and making sure it's aligning with the values and with the vision I ultimately want to keep striving for. So I
Absolutely.
appreciate you sharing that. Many of our listeners, I think, are building their businesses, doing something they're really passionate about and they really care about. I know we've talked about what's important to have those core values and to understand that. Is there a mindset shift that you think needs to happen maybe first before they go there, or that's going to help them find that clarity and intention?
I'm a true believer in taking action.
Mm.
Like you don't get clarity from overthinking. You get clarity from moving. Because even if you make a decision that might not be the decision you stick with, that decision gets you closer to the decision you probably do want to make or need to make. But without it, you're not going to get there. So the mindset shift I would say is do it. Just
Love it.
just keep moving forward because there's no, like nothing is going to happen. You might take a little bit longer, you might go a little bit quicker, but that's the only thing that's going to change. And there's no decision that we make that does not have lessons in it. They all have lessons in it, all of them. It does not matter. Especially nowadays, we live in such a fast. I was actually speaking about this yesterday. I was at a dinner and someone mentioned, because I'm currently in Toronto, and someone mentioned about the LA fires. Like the LA fires are devastating, devastating. But even something like that, like how much are you seeing it in the news now? And
Yeah.
that's like
Yeah.
a huge, I know it has an unrelated to what we're speaking about, but the magnitude of that. So what's going to happen if we make decisions that might seem not like the right ones in the moment? Like you might as well make those decisions, fail or think that you failed, but get the lessons from it.
Yeah, I think that's so important, and because you are in that area, and like you said, people now aren't even maybe thinking about it or seeing it because they're not directly affected, but there are people that are. And so have you seen a change, or I don't know how to frame what I'm asking, but I think it's an important topic that you bring up, is like those traumatic experiences or those devastating things, like moving forward from that, still feeling aligned or being aligned and not sitting in that, not just being in that experience. Does that make sense how I asked it?
I'm going to take a shot at this. I think I know what you're asking. This is my perception. You're asking, so when something like that happens, how do you, stay connected and try to
Yeah.
move forward still, with the being aligned and whatnot? I think more than ever, when you experience trauma, when you experience loss, when you experience these negative, for lack of better word, experiences, they should be your motivator to make sure that you are living in alignment, that you are, no one's guaranteed tomorrow. And I don't want to go dark in this conversation, but for me, when the fires happened, I remember already there was a lot happening in my own personal life. And then the fires happened. And I was sitting down at the orthopedic surgeon's office. It was like maybe a couple of days after the fire. And I said, this is it. Like, the fires have been the last thing I can handle. I cannot handle anything else. So please, universe, just give me a break for a moment. And for me, the fires was, just watching everybody like lose, like and it was during like my family was visiting, so we had gotten this Airbnb and we were affected in that way where the Airbnb burnt down, but it wasn't our home. And already I was feeling the way I just described, saying, this is it, like I cannot watch anything else. And the universe has the plan they have. And a couple of weeks later, I was meeting a really good friend of mine, um and 9 days before we were gonna meet, I lost her in a fire in a hotel in Turkey.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so talk about, like,
Mm.
and again, fire. So, LA fire, now this fire. And when to answer your question, and again, I didn't wanna go dark, but to answer your
Thank you for
question,
sharing. This is all helpful. I think people go through these experiences, and it's good to know how to navigate through it.
yeah, and when it happens, like, we're all human beings, like, you feel what you feel, and I was I was in complete shock. I went from the LA fires seemed nothing to me because I thought, yes, people lost their homes. Yes, it's, all of that, but the people are standing. They're resilient and they're everyone. We had such an amazing community, everyone helping everyone. What I was experiencing was there's nothing, like it's complete loss, like gone. And for me, I truly believe that when traumatic experiences, it doesn't have to be to this extent. Like, everyone has their own experience, and no one should compare their loss to someone. Like, trauma is trauma the way we experience it. Like, we need to be gentle with ourselves and accept when we're going through hard times. We cannot expect to be who we were the week before that. We need to give ourselves time, be patient. And however, that time has to end. And these experiences should be, like I said, your motivating factor to make sure that you're living a life that is truly yours, because none of us are guaranteed tomorrow. None of us. My friend was young, healthy as heck. There was nothing wrong with her. She was just at the wrong place at the wrong time, in a hotel that didn't have the permits, should have never been open. And, her life and 78 other people's lives. So,
Wow.
I don't know if that answers your question.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing that. Like you said, I think everybody's experience is different and it's how we move forward from that. But giving ourselves the space that's needed to understand why it happened. What's that mean for you? What's that motivating factor to move forward? One of my former clients, I had worked with her for a couple of years. She was diagnosed with cancer and had to go through treatment, shut everything down. But now I've been chatting with her and she's taking this as her time to think and come back even stronger. And what does she want life to look like now moving forward? Because everything has changed. Her perspective, like who she was, is different than who she is now. And she's stronger because of it. And so when we can look at maybe those experiences that we say are bad or traumatic, how does it make us stronger? What you shared, I think, was so powerful and inspiring for me. The things sometimes we think are hard are, look at what others are going through. How can I take this as a lesson and move forward from it? So you deciphered my question perfectly, even though it was all over the place.
And to make it even more relatable to your audience, I want to add that, for example, I recorded my first podcast episode the day before the fires. And the day of the fires, on January 7th, that Tuesday was supposed to be my launch date. And obviously, with my equipment, everything, gone with the fire, that wasn't going to happen. And then with the fires itself, as I said, it was very heavy. And so I paused that. And then, what happened 2 weeks exactly, January 21st, 2 weeks after the fires, the tragic loss I had. And that, why I'm saying this is to say my podcast didn't launch on January 7th. My podcast launched March 4th, 2 months later, and that is okay. It's okay. We do not need to weigh ourselves down because we planned X, Y, and Z, and it has to be this way. No, it's okay. You take a pause, like you're a former client friend who, unfortunately, through a very hard experience, took a pause. And now she's stronger. And, so going back, connecting it back to what I was saying, every experience, everything we decide, every experience we go through, there are lessons in them. And sometimes we can't see them. I could not see the lessons for what had happened. And maybe I still can't tell you what the lessons are. But what I can tell you is that it's changed me for the better.
Love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. So I always love rounding out these episodes with asking how you define success now at this stage of your life and in your business.
How I define success. To no surprise, I define success as living in alignment with what truly matters to you. It's not about doing more, it's about doing what's meaningful. And for me, success looks like waking up every day with clarity, moving through my day with intention, and ending it knowing that my decisions, my choices reflect my values.
I love that. I'm working on that. Thank you so much, Darya. I will have all of your information in the show notes, but tell me where people can find you if they want to learn more and work with you. What you're doing is amazing. And I think we connected on some other networking call, but I was like, I want to talk to her. You just have such a calming presence, and it's so great to talk with you. So where can people find you?
Thank you, Haley. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. So you can find me on Instagram. It's my full name, DaryamaEki. And you can also find me, my podcast launched on March 4th. So it's Talk with Darya.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for this conversation and just being so open to sharing. I know our listeners got a lot out of it. So thank you.
Thank you, Haley. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate you.